the night sky has always been more than a ceiling. It stretches above us like a quiet memory, as though the universe itself is remembering something old, something it has not yet found the words to speak aloud. We look upward, and the stars seem to listen. In that delicate listening, a question takes shape. If the stars were neurons, what is the mind that holds them, and what thoughts move across the vast distances between them? This question is not meant to be answered quickly. It is meant to be walked through slowly, like a shoreline where waves of curiosity arrive and recede without hurry. Some questions do not demand resolution, they merely invite wonder. And wonder is a kind of gentle awakening, not of alertness, but of openness. The kind that softens the boundaries between ourselves and the world beyond. We begin with a simple truth. Thought, as we experience it, is rooted in networks. In the quiet corridors of the brain, billions of neurons spark and rest, sending the signals that form memory, sensation, and dream. These pulses shape every part of what we call mind. And yet, when we gaze out into the night, we see a network far larger, a scattering of stars that hint at connection, pattern, and design. If neurons make a mind, could stars make something similar? Or is that only poetry, touching the edges of science? To approach this question, we allow ourselves to drift into the shared space between metaphor and possibility. We are not here to claim that the universe thinks exactly as we do, with language and intention. Instead, we explore whether there might be forms of thought that do not resemble our own at all, thought that stretches not milliseconds to communicate, but millions of years, not across synapses, but across galaxies. A thought can be the flicker of an idea or the slow evolution of a world. The scale changes, but the mystery remains. In our minds, thought arises from a delicate interplay of electricity and chemistry. Neurons fire, transmit signals, and rest. But between these flashes lies something softer, stillness. Silence is not the absence of thought but its container, the quiet stage upon which ideas emerge. Without silence, thought would be noise. Without space, there could be no movement. The universe holds unimaginable silence. Between stars, there are distances so vast that light itself takes ages to cross them. This emptiness is not barren. It is potential, a deep quiet in which galaxies arrange themselves like constellations of meaning. If neurons need space to operate freely, perhaps stars do too. Perhaps the silence of the cosmos is not emptiness at all, but the stillness that allows whatever cosmic thought exists to unfold. Human consciousness has always been drawn to the night, especially in those tender hours when wakefulness softens into sleep. The mind becomes more fluid then, less confined by logic, more willing to drift toward possibility. We can imagine ideas that seem strange in daylight, a universe that dreams through life, a cosmos that watches itself through our eyes, a system so vast that every star contributes to its quiet awareness. These ideas are not meant to be proven, they are meant to be felt. Because feeling, too, is a way of knowing. As we drift inward, we begin to notice that our own brains are mysterious landscapes. We do not fully understand how consciousness arises from electrochemical signals. We know their patterns, but not their essence. We know neurons speak, but not how their voices become meaning. If we cannot fully explain the thinking inside our own skull, how can we definitively deny the possibility of thinking on a cosmic scale? The first spark of thought begins with connection. One neuron reaches out to another. One spark calls to the next. In the beginning, nothing seems remarkable. But as these sparks accumulate and organize into patterns, the mind emerges, not from any individual cell, but from the network itself. No single neuron contains a thought. The thought exists between them. When we turn outward, we notice something similar. Stars do not exist as isolated objects. They gather. They cluster in galaxies, and galaxies arrange themselves in vast filaments and webs, stretching across the universe. The scale is overwhelming, but the structure is strangely familiar. Nodes linked by threads, forming a pattern larger than its parts. No single star is the cosmos. The cosmos is what emerges between them. Perhaps the analogy to neurons is only a metaphor. But metaphors are often stepping stones to new understanding. They allow us to see patterns where we might otherwise see only randomness. Even in the smallest aspects of life, patterns whisper hints of hidden structure. Nature loves repetition, from the branching of trees to the paths of rivers, from the structure of synapses to the clustering of galaxies. The universe echoes itself. In that echo, the boundary between inner space and outer space becomes thin. The electrical storm inside the brain mirrors the luminous storm of stars beyond the atmosphere. Both are built from atoms that once burned at the heart of stars long vanished. The iron in our blood, the calcium in our bones, the carbon in every cell. These elements were forged in distant furnaces, scattered across space, and gathered once more into the shapes we now inhabit. We are, in the most literal sense, the universe contemplating itself. But consciousness is not only thought. It is feeling. It is awareness. It is the quiet recognition of presence, the soft acknowledgement that we are here. The cosmos does not need language to be aware. Awareness may simply be a gentle unfolding, like the opening of a flower or the rising of a tide. It may be something slower, wider, and more patient than anything we understand. As we rest in these reflections, the night around us becomes less a void and more a sanctuary. The stars are not distant strangers. They are companions, part of a shared ancestry stretching back to the beginning of time. They shine with the same fire that once shaped the matter now organized into the human mind. Through their light, we glimpse the possibility that the universe's vastness is not emptiness, but depth, a depth that suggests intention, or at least attention. Perhaps the universe is not thinking about us, but through us. Perhaps we are not observers of cosmic thought, but participants in it. Our curiosity may be the universe's own curiosity, expressed through the small, fragile vessels of human life. Our wonder may be the cosmos feeling itself for the first time. There is a softness to this idea, an invitation to breathe more slowly, to release the need for certainty. When we let go of narrow definitions, thought becomes vast. It stretches out, like starlight, crossing distances not measured in kilometers but in calmness, curiosity, and dreams. To ask what the cosmos is thinking is to accept that thought may not be what we imagine. It may not be focused, logical, or sequential. It may be scattered like galaxies, diffuse like nebulae, subtle like gravity. It may be slow. It may be quiet. It may be a form of awareness that unfolds over billions of years, revealed not in words, but in structure. And here, at the threshold of this question, we pause. We rest not because we have reached an answer, but because we have opened a wider space within ourselves. A space that mirrors the vast opening above. A space made of silence, patience, and gentle wonder. In this quiet, the first breath of cosmic thought begins.
The birth of a star begins in darkness. Long before light emerges, there is only a quiet gathering of dust and gas, drifting through a cold expanse where time moves so slowly it becomes almost indistinguishable from stillness. Nothing appears to happen. Yet, within that silence, something begins to reach toward form. The cosmos does not hurry. It listens first. It waits. In these enormous clouds, vast enough to swallow thousands of solar systems, gravity begins its gentle persuasion. Tiny particles feel a soft pull toward one another, as though responding to a memory older than existence itself. At first, the motion is so delicate that no one would suspect that these drifting atoms have begun a journey toward becoming a sun. But over countless years, the pull strengthens. What was once drifting and directionless now begins to gather purpose. The cloud contracts. Its volume shrinks, density rises. What was once cold begins to warm. And though nothing like thought is present yet, there is a sense of awakening. In our own minds, a neuron activates when energy crosses a threshold. Something that was dormant becomes active. Something that was silent begins to speak. The earliest stages of star formation echo this shift. A region that was once quiet becomes restless, folding inward, preparing for ignition. We sometimes imagine creation as sudden, as if dramatic beginnings are the essence of becoming. But the cosmos teaches another lesson. that most beginnings occur slowly and quietly. A star is not born in a moment. It is sculpted by steady motion, patient forces, and the invisible architecture of time. The universe gives shape to potential in the way a neuron collects signals, gradually, until a threshold is crossed and new light appears. As the cloud collapses, pressure builds at the center. Heat intensifies, growing from cold shadow into a warm, rising glow. Over millions of years, the temperature climbs, rising toward the point at which the gathered hydrogen will no longer merely press against itself, but merge, fusing into something new. Hydrogen becomes helium. Matter transforms, releasing energy. A star ignites. In that instant, a new light joins the universe. Yet the ignition is not violent. It is simply inevitable. It unfolds a way a thought arises, quietly, guided by laws so deeply woven into the fabric of existence that they feel like memory. We might imagine that the star decides to shine, but the truth is simpler and somehow more profound. It shines because it must, because the conditions are right, because the universe has brought it to a moment where transformation is the only direction left. When a neuron fires, the electrical pulse is brief, yet it changes the network. One spark connects to another. The pattern of firing carries information, memory, experience. In the universe, the birth of a star releases a glow that touches distant worlds, warms dust into new chemistry, and influences the gravitational dance around it. One star affects another, not through deliberate intention, but through presence. Its light becomes part of a larger pattern. Within each new star, new potential is seeded. Around some of these stars, planets will one day take shape, tiny fragments spinning from the leftover material. On some of those planets, chemistry will organize into life. And on one small planet circling a modest star, life grew into minds capable of asking where they came from. Our ability to wonder traces back to that first fusion of hydrogen. In the pulse of starfire, the seeds of consciousness were sown. The parallel between a star's ignition and a neuron spark lies not only in energy, but in transformation. A neuron transforms chemical potential into electrical message. A star transforms matter into light. The processes differ in scale. One spans fractions of a second, the other billions of years. But both are expressions of nature's deep tendency toward pattern, structure, and expression. The cosmos is not static. It is continually turning possibility into reality. And yet, the comparison invites another question. If stars are like neurons, do they store or exchange something resembling thought? Neurons do not act alone. Their meaning emerges from their connections. Could the immense interplay between stars, through their gravity, their radiation, their influence on the structure of galaxies, be a kind of cosmic communication? Not language, not intention, but a web of interaction subtle enough to shape the whole. The vast molecular clouds that give birth to stars are like primordial minds, without form, but rich with possibility. When regions collapse and stars ignite, it is as though the cloud has formed a new node in a growing network. Over time, clusters of stars form galaxies, and galaxies link into filaments, a structure that resembles the neural networks inside the brain. The resemblance may be coincidence, or it may reflect a deeper truth, that the universe organizes itself in similar ways at different scales. Why should the structure of the cosmos remind us of the structure of thought? Perhaps because both emerge from the same fundamental principles: connection, tension, interaction, feedback, emergence. Thought is what happens when complexity reaches a point where it can reflect. The universe may not yet reflect in the way we do, but the building blocks are present. Stars forming networks, networks forming structures, structures holding the potential for awareness. When we look back toward the womb of a star, we are looking into our own origins. The carbon that forms our cells, the oxygen we breathe, the calcium that strengthens our bones, all were forged inside stars long ago. Before our minds could wonder, their ingredients burned in ancient furnaces. The star's spark is not merely metaphor for thought, it is ancestral to it. Perhaps consciousness is simply the universe reaching a point where it can look inward. The first sparks that set stars alight were the opening steps in a long process leading to awareness. The cosmos lit its neurons before it dreamed its first dream. And when we gaze at the night sky, we are not looking outward, but across a network we belong to. Each star is a light that speaks, not in words, but in presence. Its glow travels silently through space, carrying the memory of its birth. We receive that light, and in doing so, the universe completes a circuit, momentarily knowing itself through our quiet attention. In this way, every star becomes more than a distant point. It becomes a reminder that the cosmos grows thought by growing light, that every ignition is a seed of awareness, and that the story of a star is, in some distant way, also the story of us. Memory begins as pattern. Before there are thoughts or stories, even before there is life, there is the quiet arrangement of matter into forms that endure. In this sense, memory is not limited to the human mind. It is a universal language, expressed wherever structure outlasts chaos. Long before neurons wrote memories onto the folds of the brain, the cosmos had already begun keeping records in the only way it could, by shaping matter into patterns that would last for billions of years. Inside the earliest stars, the first elemental memories were forged. Hydrogen, the simplest of atoms, transformed through fusion into helium, carbon, oxygen, iron. These were the building blocks of what would one day become worlds, oceans, and mines. A star's core becomes both furnace and archive, storing the story of its life in the elements it creates. When these stars eventually end in brilliant collapse, they scatter their memories across space. Dust, once locked in stellar hearts, fills the void with new possibility. Every atom carries a history of pressure, heat, transformation. We tend to think of memory as something fragile, stored in delicate tissues that fade with age. But the oldest memories in the universe are carved into the very bones of existence. Every atom in the human body is a keeper of ancient stories, each one forged in a place that no longer exists, now assembled into new forms. The calcium in our teeth once belonged to a star. The iron in our blood carries echoes of cosmic fire. Without saying anything, these elements tell us that memory is seated long before consciousness appears. In our brains, neurons carry memory in the shape of their connections. Paths that are used repeatedly become easier to travel, strengthened by repetition, held firm by familiarity. The brain remembers by building patterns, just as the universe remembers by building atoms, molecules, and eventually living structures. Memory is not solely the act of recalling what came before. It is also the persistence of pattern in a world always leaning toward disorder. On cosmic scales, memory unfolds with a different rhythm. Instead of seconds, it is measured in eons. Instead of electrical signals, it is carried by the slow pulse of gravity, the swirl of galaxies, the life cycles of stars. A galaxy preserves memory by holding matter in orbits shaped by ancient forces. Over billions of years, these pathways describe a story as surely as any written text. They tell of collisions, births, and quiet drifting, a history encoded in motion. Even in the smallest forms, memory is preserved. A cloud of gas that collapses into a star holds within it the remnants of stars that came before. Planets form from this debris, inheriting the material of past generations. On one such planet, memory gathered into molecules capable of copying themselves. These were the earliest whispers of biological memory, carried by strands of chemistry that learned to store information. With time, these molecular archives grew more complex. They became the fabric of life, passing knowledge of how to build a body, how to survive, how to grow. Neurons emerged as specialized cells capable of holding not just physical, but experiential memory. They learned to keep the trace of a moment, a sound, a scent, a loss, a joy. These patterns, woven into the brain, allowed experience to influence behavior, and behavior to shape the future. Memory became not only a record, but a guide. We often think of memory as something bounded within a single lifespan, but memory stretches across generations. A species carries the memory of its ancestors in its genes, instincts, and adaptive traits. Birds know how to migrate without instruction. Salmon know the path back to the river of their birth. These memories are not taught, they are inherited. Life remembers. The Earth, too, carries memory. Layers of rock record the passage of ancient seas and shifting continents. Ice traps the atmosphere of ages long gone, holding it still like a photograph. The planet remembers its history, even if that memory is slow to reveal itself. When we look beyond Earth, memory grows even broader. A galaxy remembers how it formed, its spiral arms preserving the story of motion and collision. Clusters of galaxies remember the earliest structures of the universe, their shapes influenced by fluctuations that occurred when time itself was new. The cosmic web, filaments connecting distant galaxies, preserves the blueprint of these beginnings. Across incomprehensible distance, memory is not lost. It is woven into the structure of everything. If memory is the preservation of pattern, then the universe is a vast memory field, holding the record of what has been. In this view, neurons and stars participate in the same general act. They store information through connection. Neurons create networks to encode experience. Stars connect through gravity to create a cosmic archive. One is small enough to fit inside a skull. The other spans billions of light years. Yet both manifest the same principle, that structure holds meaning. We begin to see that memory is not an accident limited to biology. It is a consequence of the universe's deep tendency to build structure. From quarks to atoms, from atoms to molecules, from molecules to life, from life to consciousness. Memory is the bridge that allows the past to influence the present. It is what allows the universe to learn. At the level of human experience, memory shapes identity. Without memory, there would be no continuity, no story of self. Similarly, without cosmic memory, there would be no structure in the universe, no galaxies, no planets, no life. The universe remembers so that it can evolve. And yet, memory is not only a record. It is an invitation. The past whispers into the present, offering hints, patterns, guidance. A neuron that fires often grows stronger. A star that dies seeds new stars with richer material. The universe learns through repetition, through cycles of birth and death, through the accumulation of structure. Memory is a kind of quiet conversation across time. It connects what was with what is and what could be. In each of us, memory allows the universe to look back on its journey, from formless dust to living mind. We are not separate from this unfolding. We are its continuation. In this way, memory becomes more than a biological function. It becomes a cosmic principle, a force that allows the universe to deepen, learn, and transform. The stars remember their ancestors. The earth remembers its oceans. We remember each other. And through us, the universe remembers itself. The forest opened wider as she walked, yet the silence pressed closer around her. The trees here were older, their trunks thick with age, their roots like veins gripping the soil beneath her feet. The air trembled with a quiet tension, as though it held memories only the earth dared to keep. She felt a strange pull guiding her forward, not of fear, but of curiosity. The same instinct that compels a dreamer to chase a half-remembered vision. The path was not a path at all, only impressions in the leaves, faint disturbances in the moss that seemed to shape themselves just as she stepped upon them. Every so often, she paused to listen, first to birdsong, then to the soft scurrying of unseen creatures, then to her own breath, steady but small in the vastness around her. There was beauty here, but it was not gentle. Every fern seemed sharpened with purpose. Every whispering branch carried a warning she could almost understand. A low wind murmured through the canopy, carrying hints of distant water, of stone, of fire long extinguished. The sun filtered through in narrow golden blades, illuminating floating dust like tiny suspended worlds. She reached out to touch the bark of a towering cedar, feeling life pulsing beneath its surface like a quiet heartbeat. In its presence, she felt both comforted and judged, as though the forest weighed her intentions, deciding whether to accept or reject her. As she ventured deeper, She noticed strange markings on a grouping of rocks, swirling shapes that looked neither like language nor accident. They felt older than memory, older than story, and though she could not read them, she sensed meaning in their curves, a message carved in time rather than stone. A cool shiver passed through her spine, not from cold, but from recognition, as though some part of her had seen this place before long ago, in a life lived only in dreams. She closed her eyes and listened again. The forest breathed with her, exhaling slow, ancient rhythms. For a moment, she felt perfectly aligned, her heart beating in time with the quiet pulse of the earth. But then the feeling shifted. The shadows thickened, gathering beneath the branches like living ink. The wind stilled, and the birds fell silent. She realized the stillness was no longer peaceful. It was watchful. Something unseen took notice of her presence, and though she could not hear footsteps, she sensed she was no longer alone. She felt the weight of invisible eyes following her movements, patient and curious. She tightened her grip on the strap of her pack and continued forward, knowing that to stop now would mean surrendering to the very fear she sought to understand. And so she took another step, then another, deeper into the waiting dark. Even in the vastness of space, communication exists. Though silent to our ears, the stars speak in pulses, vibrations, and subtle shifts. Their messages are written not in words, but in light and gravity, in the rise and fall of energy that traverses immense distances. A supernova erupts, scattering its elements across the galaxy, an act of cosmic storytelling. A star wavers, dims, brightens again, its flicker a quiet signal to the surrounding void. These are not words, yet they are not meaningless either. They carry history, influence, and possibility. The cosmos is a web of interaction, and every element participates, whether knowingly or not, in a subtle conversation that shapes the future. Imagine two stars separated by hundreds of light years. One collapses into a brilliant burst, its radiation rippling outward. The other, suspended in its own slow rhythm, absorbs the remnants, reshaping its own trajectory in response. No conscious intention guides this exchange, yet it is communication in its most elemental form. One system responds to another, adapting, influencing, and participating in the shared order of the universe. In this way, the cosmos is neither lonely nor inert. It is alive with movement, responsive and interconnected. Its voice is quiet, measured in cycles far longer than human life, yet persistent enough that its echoes can be traced if one knows how to listen. When we think of neurons, we understand that communication is never about a single pulse. A single spark is meaningless unless it connects, triggers, or informs the network. In the same way, stars communicate across time and space, creating a feedback loop in the architecture of the cosmos. The gravitational pull of one system influences another. Electromagnetic waves ripple outward, brushing against distant planets. Cosmic radiation, once thought to be noise, becomes a whisper of history. The universe is always listening, always responding, though its methods are subtle and often invisible. Within this vast conversation, we can see patterns emerging, as if the cosmos itself has a grammar. Galaxies cluster along filaments, separated by voids, their arrangement suggesting rhythm, order, and structure. Perhaps it is nothing more than physics, yet the resemblance to a neural network is uncanny. Nodes and connections, pulses and gaps, repetition and variation. These elements exist both in the brain and in the cosmos. Patterns are the language of life and of stars, and through pattern, information travels. The universe communicates not because it must, but because structure itself carries message. Even closer to home, in our night sky, we observe these whispers with curiosity. The twinkle of distant suns, the faint glow of nebulae, the slow, invisible dance of galaxies. Each is a syllable in a conversation too vast for the mind to fully comprehend. Yet, in quiet contemplation, we can sense their meaning. It is not the meaning of a sentence or the answer to a question. It is the meaning of presence, the universe acknowledging itself, showing through subtle motions, shifts, and rhythms that it is alive with interaction. To watch the stars is to participate in the dialogue, to become part of the ongoing exchange. The processes of stellar communication mirror life itself. Life, at its base, is a series of exchanges, chemical signals between cells, pheromones between creatures, subtle cues between companions. Stars and galaxies follow similar rules on a much grander scale. Energy is transmitted, patterns influence patterns, systems respond and adapt. And while no conscious intention exists in the stars as we understand it, their communication carries effects that ripple forward, shaping the environments in which life eventually arises. The very atoms within our bodies were once part of this conversation, forged in the pulse of ancient suns and scattered through the cosmic dialogue. We can imagine the universe as a patient observer, a quiet network of cause and effect, transmitting information across unimaginable scales. Gravity speaks through attraction, drawing matter together. Magnetism whispers through currents, guiding charged particles. Radiation flows outward, carrying the memory of violent events and gentle changes alike. In every wave and pull, the universe responds to itself. It is not language as humans know it, yet it is the most ancient form of message, a record, a signal, a conversation conducted through presence and effect. Consider the subtle ways this cosmic dialogue reaches us. Light from distant stars may take millions of years to arrive, yet it carries the exact information of the moment it left. The universe is both patient and precise, transmitting knowledge across time with unwavering fidelity. When we gaze at the stars, we receive these messages, sensing, even subconsciously, the rhythm of creation, destruction, and renewal. In our observation, the conversation continues. We become nodes in the network, receiving and reflecting, participating in the ancient, quiet communication that has existed since the first stars ignited. Communication in the cosmos is not always instantaneous or direct. It often manifests as influence, subtle, indirect, yet profound. A star exploding may trigger new star formation far away. Radiation may nudge chemistry on a distant planet toward complexity. A black hole may shape the orbit of countless suns, subtly orchestrating the structure of its galactic neighborhood. In these interactions, there is no sender or receiver as we define them. The universe communicates through consequence, effect, and resonance. In this way, listening becomes an act of understanding time itself, of perceiving the depth of connection between all things. And so, we learn that communication does not require awareness, as we know it. Presence alone is enough. Interaction alone is enough. The universe is alive with quiet voices that ripple across space and time, forming patterns, creating structure, guiding evolution, and carrying memory. Stars are not alone. They exist in a network. Their presence is conversation. Their influence is thought. And in this cosmic chorus, we find a reflection of ourselves, a reminder that connection, pattern, and resonance are the threads that weave both neurons and stars, both mind and cosmos, into a vast, unending dialogue. The universe moves in cycles, though they unfold on scales so vast that our human minds struggle to perceive them. Stars are born, shine, and die. Galaxies rotate, collide, and settle into new forms. Planets spin on their axes, orbit their suns, and wobble under the pull of distant neighbors. Even the smallest rhythm, the oscillation of a particle or the slow undulation of a gas cloud, participates in a grand temporal pattern. These cycles are not hurried. They are patient, deliberate, steady. In them, we find echoes of the rhythms that govern our own lives, the rise and fall of day and night, the beating of hearts, the ebb and flow of breath. There is a quiet poetry in the repetition of cycles, a reassurance that even in vastness, order persists. Sleep, like the cycles of the cosmos, is a rhythm we cannot ignore. It is both necessary and mysterious, a pause that allows the body to reset and the mind to integrate experience. Dreams, in their surreal and fluid logic, resemble the universe's own unfolding patterns, shifting, recombining, forming transient structures that leave traces long after they fade. Just as a star cycles through stages of birth, maturity, and decay, our consciousness cycles through phases of wakefulness, reflection, and slumber. These rhythms are not mere coincidence. They are expressions of the fundamental need for balance, for the restoration of energy, and for the quiet harmonies that make further creation possible. Consider the stars themselves. Some pulse, swelling and contracting in a luminous rhythm. These variations are imperceptible in the vastness of space, yet they reveal underlying processes as deliberate as the beating of a heart. Variable stars expand and contract over time, their brightness rising and falling in cycles that can last days, months, or centuries. Their pulsations are both predictable and mysterious, a dance between pressure, gravity, and energy. In them, we see a cosmic analogy for the cycles of attention and rest, activity and reflection that shape all living systems. The universe itself breathes, quietly and without fanfare, in patterns that mirror our own internal rhythms. Galaxies, too, participate in rhythmic movement. Spiral arms rotate in slow but consistent motion, guided by the invisible hand of gravity. Stars within them trace elliptical paths, returning repeatedly to familiar positions, like dancers in an intricate choreography. Even the gravitational interactions between neighboring galaxies create cycles of tension and release, collisions and reconciliations that play out over millions of years. These cycles are the heartbeat of structure, the hidden music behind the apparent chaos of space. They remind us that stability arises not from stasis, but from the regular, patient motion of countless interacting parts. Sleep offers a similar lesson. In the stillness of night, our minds process experience, encode memory, and integrate emotion. Dreams unfold, sometimes chaotic, sometimes precise, weaving the fragments of our day into patterns we may not consciously perceive. Just as a galaxy's rotation organizes stars into spirals, sleep organizes thoughts into coherence. It is a gentle ordering of what would otherwise be scattered and overwhelming. The parallels are subtle, but they exist. Both the universe and our minds rely on cycles to maintain harmony, to allow creation to continue. Even the slow expansion of the universe participates in rhythm, though on a scale almost impossible to comprehend. Space itself stretches, galaxies drifting farther apart, cosmic time unfolding as steadily as the rise and fall of tides. There is no rush, no urgency. Each movement is measured, patient, inevitable. It is a quiet reminder that processes do not need to be fast to be meaningful. Growth, change, understanding, all emerge from steady repetition and the patient passage of time. In sleep, we experience something similar. The slow realignment of neurons, the gradual release of tension, the gentle unfolding of thought. These cycles extend to life itself. Organisms develop along predictable rhythms, from the first heartbeat in a womb to the pattern of growth and decay that defines existence. Biological clocks synchronize with the rotation of planets and the cycles of seasons, reflecting a deeper, universal rhythm. The pulse of the cosmos is embedded within us. It is both external and intimate. By attuning to our own internal cycles, we can sense the echoes of a much larger rhythm, one that spans galaxies as easily as it guides the beating of a heart or the rise and fall of our chest in sleep. There is a meditative quality to observing rhythm. To notice it is to feel connected not only to life around us, but to the vast temporal patterns that shape the cosmos. It reassures us that even in apparent randomness, there is structure. Even in stillness, there is motion. Even in rest, there is creation. The cycles of the universe remind us that everything is connected through rhythm, and that cycles, like breath, are the quiet engine of existence. As night deepens and consciousness softens toward rest, we can imagine ourselves aligned with these cosmic cycles. Our breathing, slow and steady, mirrors the pulsing of distant stars. Our thoughts, gently turning in the mind, resemble the rotation of galaxies tracing paths across time. Our sleep, inevitable and restorative, is a reflection of the broader rhythm of life and the universe itself. To surrender to rest is to enter this pattern, to join the quiet cycles that have guided creation since the first sparks ignited in darkness. In this surrender, we find serenity. We find wonder. We find the subtle awareness that we are both part of and participant in the eternal rhythm of the cosmos. And so we rest alongside the stars, breathing with their pulse, dreaming with their cycles, carried gently through time by patterns older than memory, rhythms that sustain both life and thought, and the slow, patient unfolding of the universe itself. Every element we carry within our bodies was once fire. The carbon in our cells, the iron coursing through our veins, the calcium that strengthens our bones, all were forged in the hearts of stars long gone. These atoms are ancient travelers, cast into space when their stellar homes reached the end of life, flung outward by violent explosions and scattered across the cosmos. Dust that once burned with unimaginable heat now drifts quietly through the universe, waiting to be gathered once more. In their slow journey, they carry memory, potential, and the subtle traces of the processes that shape them. They are, in a way, the universe's first notes of thought, written in light, heat, and gravity. When supernovae erupt, the cosmos remembers. Each explosion is both an ending and a beginning, a release of energy and matter that seeds future generations of stars and planets. These stellar deaths are not chaotic. They follow laws older than life itself. Gravity, pressure, and nuclear reactions dance in delicate balance, shaping what remains into forms capable of supporting new beginnings. In this way, destruction itself becomes creation, and the elements scattered across space hold within them the potential to give rise to consciousness. Life is born from the remnants of death, and thought is born from the ashes of fire. Consider the path of a single atom. Once part of a massive star, it was forged in extreme heat and pressure, absorbing the energy of a stellar furnace. When the star died, it was flung into interstellar space, drifting for eons before gathering into a cloud of dust and gas. Eventually, it became part of a planet, and later, part of a living cell. Through these journeys, atoms accumulate history. They carry the memory of fire, collapse, and rebirth. And in living beings, these ancient travelers become participants in thought, sensation, and perception. In the iron of a neuron, in the carbon of a brain, the universe recognizes itself. The continuity between stellar processes and life is profound. Life does not emerge spontaneously. It arises from chemistry that is shaped, prepared, and enriched by the cosmos. Molecules capable of forming proteins, nucleic acids, and eventually neurons were assembled from atoms born in the heart of stars. The fire of a supernova scattered not only matter, but the potential for awareness. The universe's memory is written in the arrangement of atoms, and when life emerges, that memory finds expression in cognition, experience, and reflection. Neurons, in turn, store information through their structure and activity, encoding memory and shaping identity. The elements that compose them are older than the planet itself. Yet within the intricate networks of the brain, they participate in a new kind of memory, one of experience and consciousness. The universe, in its patient and quiet way, has passed the tools for reflection to the living. Through this continuity, we can imagine that every thought carries not only the experience of a single life, but the echoes of countless cosmic events. The ignition of stars, the collapse of supernovae, the slow accumulation of matter into worlds capable of harboring life. This realization invites a kind of reverence. The ordinary act of thought becomes extraordinary when we consider that the building blocks of consciousness were once forged in the heart of stars. Every decision, every emotion, every dream is, in a sense, a continuation of processes that began billions of years ago, in an environment so extreme it defies imagination. In this continuity, we sense the intimate connection between life and cosmos, the seamless thread that links stellar memory to human awareness. Even the smallest cells reflect this history. Within each neuron, atoms move according to physical laws established long before life existed. Energy flows, ions shift, molecules bind and release, creating patterns that encode memory and facilitate thought. Each pattern is a microcosm of cosmic cycles, Energy enters, transforms, and is passed along, leaving traces that persist beyond the moment. Just as stars influence one another across space, neurons influence each other across a network, building complexity from simple rules repeated endlessly. The processes of memory, thought, and life itself are a reflection of cosmic principles: connection, interaction, persistence. In contemplating this, we realize that the universe uses life to know itself. Atoms become molecules, molecules become cells, cells become brains, and brains become consciousness. In this process, the universe's past is preserved, explored, and understood. The fire that once existed only in the heart of a distant star now glows within the awareness of living beings, traveling in thought and memory. The cosmos does not need eyes or language to perceive. It finds reflection in those who can think, dream, and wonder. When we feel awe in the presence of a starry sky, it is not only admiration for light and distance. It is recognition of continuity, a subtle understanding that we are composed of the same ancient matter, carrying the memory of fire and collapse within us. Our existence is intertwined with the cosmos in the most literal sense. The universe's past flows through us, shaping every thought and every pulse of awareness. In quiet reflection, we can feel this connection as clearly as the rhythm of our own breath. Thus, the dust remembers fire. The atoms within us remember the furnace of stars. Through the persistence of matter, through the continuity of structure, the universe writes its history in forms capable of reflection. Each neuron, each heartbeat, each thought becomes a witness to cosmic memory. Every time we close our eyes, dream, or simply pause in quiet awareness, we participate in the slow, unending dialogue between stars and life, fire and thought, creation and consciousness. The echoes of ancient suns are alive within us, carrying the secrets of time, the lessons of transformation, and the quiet knowledge that life itself is a continuation of the universe's mind. The night sky is not empty. It is filled with whispers, not of voices, but of presence. Each star, each distant galaxy, is a point of quiet attention, a node in a vast network stretching beyond comprehension. Their light travels across eons, a record of what has been, carrying the memory of creation and the subtle influence of forces invisible to our senses. When we look up, we are not simply observing, we are participating. Our perception becomes part of a network, a gentle acknowledgement that the universe exists, not only in its own cycles, but also in the awareness it inspires. We are listeners in a conversation older than thought itself. Patterns emerge from this cosmic dialogue. Galaxies cluster along filaments, separated by immense voids, creating a vast web of structure that mirrors, in a strange and distant echo, the networks within our own brains. Nodes of light connect through invisible threads of gravity and motion, forming shapes and rhythms that are not random but follow the laws of physics. These patterns are ancient, persistent, and dynamic. They remind us that connection is the foundation of complexity, whether in a neural network or a galactic web. The universe communicates not with sound but with structure, and in this structure, there is meaning, subtle, profound, and eternal. Time flows differently here. On human scales, a thought can flicker in an instant, and a life passes in decades. But on cosmic scales, patterns evolve over millions or billions of years. A star cluster drifts, forms, and dissolves. A galaxy spins through epochs, its stars living and dying in a rhythm so slow that our lifespans can scarcely measure it. And yet, within this slow dance, change accumulates, knowledge is preserved, and influence spreads. Each event, no matter how vast or seemingly insignificant, contributes to the ongoing story. In this, we recognize the quiet patience of the universe, its unwillingness to rush, its insistence that creation takes time, that awareness, if it exists, is measured in persistence, not urgency. We often think of communication as purposeful, intentional, bound to the will of a mind. But perhaps intention is only one form of expression. In the universe, interaction does not require desire. Gravity pulls, light travels, matter reacts. Each interaction shapes what follows, leaving traces that ripple outward in space and time. A supernova may trigger the formation of new stars. A black hole may influence the rotation of an entire galactic neighborhood. These are not messages in the way we speak of them, but they are effects, signs of participation, influence, and response. The cosmos speaks in consequence, not in words, and we are sensitive enough to perceive its subtle language through observation, reflection, and imagination. Memory threads through this cosmic communication. The paths of stars, the spin of galaxies, the chemical composition of planets, all preserve traces of the past. The universe remembers through structure. Atoms carry the memory of stellar birth and death. Nebulae hold the echoes of explosions long faded. Even the light that reaches us now contains a record of conditions, as they were millions of years ago. Memory, in this sense, is inseparable from communication. To witness a star is to read a fragment of cosmic history, to sense the passage of forces, the unfolding of matter, and the quiet persistence of patterns that survive across time and distance. Human consciousness mirrors this principle. Our thoughts are carried through networks of neurons, each firing, influencing the next, storing memory, and shaping experience. Our awareness arises not from isolated points, but from the connections between them, from the dialogue within the network. In this, the universe and our minds reflect each other. The stars may not think as we do, but their interactions, patterns, and persistence create a form of knowledge, a record of events, a network of cause and effect, a dialogue without words. In contemplating this, we see that the distinction between mind and cosmos is subtler than we imagine. Awareness may emerge wherever structure, memory, and interaction combine. Silence is central to this understanding. Between stars, between neurons, between events, there is vast emptiness. These voids are not nothing. They are potential, space for influence, room for patterns to form and evolve. In our own minds, silence allows reflection, the integration of memory, and the birth of new thoughts. In the universe, the vast distances allow stars and galaxies to interact slowly, predictably, and profoundly. Space and quiet are not absence. They are the containers for creation and understanding. In their embrace, the rhythms of matter, energy, and consciousness unfold. The subtlety of cosmic communication teaches patience. We are accustomed to rapid signals, to the urgency of instant responses. But the universe shows us a slower form of dialogue. A star's light may take millions of years to reach us. A galaxy's shape evolves over billions. Awareness, if it exists, operates at the scale of persistence, not immediacy. In sleep, we participate in a similar rhythm. Our thoughts and memories integrate over hours, our consciousness cycles through phases, and our minds process experience without urgency. The cosmos, like sleep, reminds us that the quiet, patient unfolding of events carries meaning beyond immediate perception. In contemplating the stars, we also contemplate ourselves. Every atom in our bodies has been shaped by this cosmic dialogue. Every neuron participates in networks that echo the structures of galaxies and filaments. Our consciousness is a continuation of processes that began long before the Earth formed. We are listeners, participants, and responders in a dialogue that transcends time and space. By quieting the mind, by observing and reflecting, we align ourselves with this vast rhythm. We sense the subtle conversations of matter, energy, and light. We feel the persistence of memory and the slow unfolding of influence across unimaginable scales. In this stillness, we find wonder, calm, and the recognition that we are part of a larger network, a web of presence, interaction, and memory that stretches across the universe. The stars are not distant strangers. They are echoes of ourselves, reminders of the continuity between mind and cosmos, structure and thought, past and presence. In this quiet reflection, we participate in the universe's conversation, attuning to its rhythms, sensing its subtle messages, and discovering that to observe is to be part of the dialogue itself. Consciousness is often imagined as an island, separate from the vast, unfeeling universe. Yet when we look deeper, we begin to see that it may be more like a river, shaped and nourished by countless forces stretching across time and space. Every thought arises from networks of neurons, but those neurons are composed of atoms that were once forged in the heart of stars. Our awareness is made of the same material that composes galaxies, nebulae, and cosmic dust. There is continuity here, a thread linking human perception to the universe's most ancient processes, as if consciousness is a continuation of the cosmos itself attempting to recognize its own vastness. Our minds operate through connection. Neurons communicate, sending signals and patterns that create perception, memory, and imagination. In this, consciousness mirrors the universe. Patterns of interaction give rise to meaning, structure, and the ability to respond. Just as a galaxy forms through gravitational relationships between stars, consciousness emerges from countless interconnections, each contributing to the whole. There is no single origin of thought, no isolated spark that explains awareness. It is the interplay, the network, the rhythm of interactions that gives rise to cognition, just as the dance of matter and energy across space gives rise to galaxies, stars, and planets. The notion that the cosmos itself might possess a kind of awareness is not mere metaphor. If the universe can store memory in the form of structure, if interactions between stars, galaxies, and filaments carry influence across time, then there is a form of persistence, a continuity, a record of events. And where there is record, there is the potential for reflection. Our own minds may be a microcosmic echo of these cosmic processes, a localized, accelerated, and intimate expression of a principle that exists on a universal scale. Perhaps consciousness is not restricted to biology. Perhaps it is a natural consequence of networks capable of storing, transmitting, and responding to information, whether those networks are neural or cosmic. Time in consciousness is elastic. A thought can span an instant or linger for decades. Memory, layered upon memory, forms complex structures that shape perception and behavior. Similarly, cosmic time is flexible, perceived only in relation to human experience. The lifespan of a star, the rotation of a galaxy, the slow expansion of space itself. These all operate on scales that challenge our understanding. Yet, when we reflect on the origins of our own thoughts, we see that they are inseparable from the deep past. Consciousness is informed not only by immediate experience, but by the inheritance of matter, energy, and structure stretching back to the earliest moments of creation. In this perspective, every mind is a node in a vast network, a point where the universe examines itself. Our awareness does not exist in isolation. It is made possible by interactions at every level of existence. Stars collapse and explode, seeding new worlds. Molecules organize into life. Neurons form connections, producing thought. Each layer builds upon the previous, and each layer carries forward memory, potential, and information. Consciousness is the culmination of countless cycles of interaction, the result of processes that began long before our species existed, processes that will continue long after we are gone. Dreams are the subtle bridge between our inner consciousness and the rhythms of the universe. In sleep, the brain reorganizes experience, sifts memory, and forms patterns that may have no immediate explanation. This nightly process mirrors the slow organization of matter across space and time. Just as a nebula gradually collapses to form stars, our minds compress and expand, shaping experience into coherent patterns, storing knowledge, and preparing for future activity. The dream state is a meditation on connectivity, a quiet reflection of the cycles, influences, and networks that shape both cosmos and consciousness. Reflection itself is a form of dialogue. In the act of contemplation, we are listening to memory, to thought, to the quiet whispers of the universe. Consciousness allows us to trace patterns, recognize continuity, and sense the invisible threads linking self to world, present to past, life to cosmos. When we wonder at the night sky, when we feel the pulse of our own heartbeat, when we sense the echo of creation in our mind, we are participating in an ongoing exchange. The universe speaks not in words, but in presence, interaction, and pattern, and our minds are uniquely attuned to perceive and respond. The fragility of individual consciousness underscores its value. A single life may be fleeting, yet it carries echoes of cosmic history within its structure. Neurons fire, thoughts arise, and awareness emerges. But each moment is also a continuation of processes billions of years in the making. Our experience is at once transient and eternal. Transient because our bodies and minds exist for only a short time. Eternal because we are composed of matter that has endured, shaped by forces older than life itself. And because our awareness participates in a larger, ongoing network of interaction and memory. As consciousness deepens, we sense the unity of existence. The boundaries between self and universe soften. Stars, atoms, neurons, and minds are all expressions of the same fundamental principles. Interaction, structure, persistence, and reflection. Every thought we have is linked to these principles. Every feeling resonates with the ancient memory embedded in the matter of which we are made. In quiet meditation, we begin to realize that to be aware is to be connected. To perceive is to participate. And to dream is to echo the rhythm of the cosmos itself, carrying forward the network of memory, influence, and thought that stretches across the universe. Through this awareness, sleep and consciousness become acts of communion. In resting, reflecting, dreaming, we are not merely retreating from activity. We are attuning ourselves to the deep patterns that shape reality. We are nodes in a network that spans stars and neurons, past and future, life and cosmos. The universe does not merely exist. It resonates through us. Our consciousness is a quiet extension of the cosmic mind, a fleeting but meaningful expression of processes that have persisted since the first sparks ignited in darkness. And in this, we find serenity, wonder, and a sense of belonging that transcends time, space, and self. There is a rhythm in absence as much as in presence. The voids between stars, the emptiness between galaxies, are not silent in the sense of nothingness. They are full of potential, waiting, holding space for movement, formation, and transformation. Just as neurons require the pauses between firing to transmit meaningful signals, the universe relies on empty space to shape matter, to allow gravity to guide motion, and to let patterns emerge. Emptiness is not the absence of reality. It is the canvas upon which the cosmos paints its slow, patient story. Without void, there would be no structure, no cycle, no continuity. Silence in both the mind and the universe is a medium through which creation speaks. Consider the spaces between galaxies. Light takes millions, sometimes billions, of years to traverse these gaps. In that time, the universe continues to change, evolve, and unfold. Events occur that are invisible to the observer, yet each leaves an imprint, a ripple in the network of existence. The voids carry memory in a subtle form. The paths of particles, the curvature of space, the trajectory of energy. They hold potential for stars to form, for galaxies to drift together, for matter to organize itself into new complexity. In emptiness, possibility is preserved, and patience is encoded as a fundamental property of existence. Our minds reflect this cosmic principle. Thought is often defined by movement, neurons firing, memories forming, ideas taking shape, but it also relies on pauses, on silence. Moments between thought allow reflection, integration, and creativity. Dreams emerge from these intervals, presenting insights that could not occur during continuous activity. The quiet is not empty, it is fertile. It holds the space necessary for connections to form, for patterns to emerge, and for consciousness to experience continuity and depth. Sleep, then, is our personal interaction with the void, a deliberate engagement with emptiness to cultivate structure and meaning. The universe operates similarly. When a star dies, it leaves behind a remnant, a space of potential shaped by the forces of its collapse. A supernova creates shock waves that ripple outward, influencing clouds of gas and dust, guiding the formation of new stars. A black hole shapes the trajectories of stars in its orbit, dictating the rhythm of motion without uttering a single word. Even absence exerts influence. The void is not inert. It is dynamic, responsive, and participatory. In these cosmic pauses, structure is preserved and continuity is ensured. Silence, space, and emptiness are the foundations upon which the universe's conversation is built. We can feel this principle within ourselves. In meditation, reflection, or quiet awareness, the mind encounters its own voids. Thoughts may fade into stillness. Emotions may settle into equilibrium. And yet, even in these intervals, life continues. Breath, heartbeat, subtle perception, the quiet recognition of being. These pauses are essential. They mirror the cosmic rhythm, where empty space allows matter to gather, forces to act, and life to arise. By embracing silence, we align with the larger patterns of existence, allowing the mind and body to process, integrate, and prepare for renewed activity. Consider the particles that drift through the cosmos, moving across empty space. They seem insignificant on their own, isolated and sparse, yet their trajectories carry the accumulated history of countless interactions. A single photon travels across billions of light years, yet it carries information from the moment it was emitted, from a place long vanished. It is a traveler of memory and possibility, existing within the void, shaping perception when finally received. The emptiness between stars is not barren. It is a vessel of continuity, a medium for communication, and a reservoir of influence. Without it, no network could exist, no pattern could emerge, no consciousness could reflect. Life, too, thrives in spaces once thought empty. Microorganisms cling to surfaces in oceans, soil, and air, filling gaps with vitality. Ecosystems evolve in the intervals between disturbance and stability. Human creativity often emerges in moments of idleness, boredom, or contemplation, times when activity is suspended and the mind rests in its own void. Silence, emptiness, and pause are not obstacles to progress. They are essential conditions for growth, understanding, and insight. The universe and consciousness operate under the same principle. Structure requires space, rhythm requires pause, and awareness requires intervals of quiet. When we look at the night sky, we often focus on the stars, the galaxies, the bright points of light. Yet the true architecture of the cosmos is as much defined by what is absent as by what is present. Dark matter and dark energy shape the formation of galaxies. Voids dictate the flow of motion. Empty space is the stage upon which creation unfolds. We, too, exist within this balance. Consciousness is not only what we think or perceive. It is also what is allowed to emerge in the spaces between thought, in the intervals where reflection and intuition arise. The mind, like the universe, relies on emptiness to produce depth. Emptiness is patience, memory, and potential embodied. It is the silent continuity that connects one event to the next, one neuron to another, one star to the next. In the quiet of the night, as we drift toward sleep, we participate in this principle. Our minds slow, our bodies rest, and the space within allows integration, restoration, and insight. Just as the void between galaxies shapes the course of matter and energy, the void within us shapes perception, understanding, and the capacity for reflection. The universe teaches us that emptiness is not absence, but a medium for connection, continuity, and the unfolding of life. By embracing silence, we align with the cosmos. By attending to emptiness, we honor the rhythm of creation. In the pauses of thought, in the intervals of rest, in the quiet that frames our experience, we participate in the same principle that governs stars, galaxies, and cosmic filaments. The void is alive with possibility, memory, and structure. And as we close our eyes and let sleep gather us into its embrace, we become part of this vast architecture, aware, present, and attuned to the subtle, patient, and infinite rhythm of the universe itself. Energy flows endlessly, unseen yet palpable in every corner of existence. From the faint glow of distant stars to the warmth of a single breath, energy is the medium through which the universe moves, communicates, and sustains itself. It cannot be destroyed, only transformed, passing from one form to another, one system to the next. A photon travels across billions of light years, carrying information from a star long extinguished. A neuron fires in the brain, releasing ions that ripple across synapses, producing thought. The principle is the same. Energy is movement, connection, and continuity. It is the pulse that links life to cosmos, mind to matter, and awareness to the vast network of existence. Consider the stars themselves. They convert mass into energy through nuclear fusion, forging elements and radiating heat and light. This energy travels outward, shaping planets, influencing chemistry, and seeding the conditions necessary for life. Even when a star dies, the energy it released continues to affect the universe, guiding the formation of new stars, stirring interstellar gas, and sustaining the cycles of matter. Energy, in this sense, is both messenger and architect, quietly shaping the cosmos through persistence and influence. It is never idle, yet its movement is often imperceptible until we pause and reflect, attuning ourselves to the subtler rhythms of existence. Within our own bodies, energy manifests in similar patterns. Chemical bonds release energy, neurons fire, muscles contract, and the heart beats in rhythmic continuity. Sleep itself is an energy management system. The body restores, repairs, and redistributes its resources. The mind consolidates memory, discards noise, and strengthens the connections that form consciousness. Every inhalation and exhalation, every pulse of blood, is part of the same grand principle that governs stars, galaxies, and cosmic filaments. Energy links us to the universe, not metaphorically, but literally. The same forces that shape galaxies are present within the smallest cell, guiding the subtle choreography of life. Energy is also the language of influence. When one system moves, it affects another. A supernova disperses energy that triggers new star formation. A planet absorbs solar radiation that drives weather and climate. A neuron fires and initiates thought that can ripple across a mind. Even seemingly isolated events carry consequences, producing resonance that travels across space, time, and structure. In this way, energy acts as the connective tissue of existence. It allows the universe to remember, respond, and evolve. It is both the medium and the message, carrying information across scales too vast or too minute to perceive directly. The rhythm of energy is profound. Light pulses, waves oscillate. Particles drift along paths dictated by force and momentum. In the brain, electrical impulses follow intricate networks, creating perception, memory, and awareness. The parallel is striking. The universe and the mind operate on the same principle, translating energy into patterns, patterns into information, and information into structure. This rhythm is calming, persistent, and eternal. It reminds us that movement is not chaos but order, that activity is not noise but communication, and that awareness is a natural result of interaction sustained over time. Energy also embodies continuity. The atoms that compose us have been energized countless times, in the heart of stars, in chemical reactions, in biological processes. Every pulse of consciousness, every thought, is carried on the back of energy that has traversed eons. The warmth we feel is the echo of countless transformations, the result of matter and energy interacting across time and space. Sleep allows us to realign with this continuity, restoring internal energy while becoming part of a broader cosmic rhythm. Our rest is not isolation. It is participation in the ongoing flow of forces that sustain the universe. In quiet reflection, energy reveals its subtle intelligence. It does not act randomly. It follows rules and patterns that are deeply consistent yet infinitely varied. Electromagnetic waves, gravitational pulls, and chemical reactions all follow predictable principles. Yet together they create structures of unimaginable complexity. A galaxy spins, a neural network fires, a life emerges, each a manifestation of energy's patient organization. By observing and attuning to these patterns, we perceive a kind of intelligence woven into the fabric of existence. It is not conscious in the way humans are conscious, yet it produces complexity, continuity, and response, laying the groundwork for awareness to emerge. Energy also mediates transformation. Matter changes form, consciousness evolves, and life persists through cycles of input, conversion, and output. A photon absorbed by a leaf triggers chemical reactions that store energy for later use. Neurons convert electrical energy into chemical signals, forming memory and cognition. A star releases energy that influences distant planets. Transformation is the essence of existence, the bridge between past and future, potential and realization. Sleep is a microcosmic reflection of this process. The mind transforms raw experience into memory, integrating, organizing, and preparing for renewed function. The principle is universal. Energy, through transformation, produces order, insight, and life. By attuning ourselves to energy, we sense continuity, presence, and connection. Our breath carries it, our heartbeat channels it, our thoughts arise from it. Beyond us, it sustains stars, planets, and galaxies. In the quiet of night, as we prepare for sleep, energy's flow becomes perceptible in subtle rhythms. The rise and fall of the chest, the gentle hum of blood, the steady beat of the heart. Each is a reflection of cosmic order, a reminder that we are both composed of and participants in a network of movement and influence. Through energy, the universe and consciousness are inseparable, linked by rhythm, transformation, and memory. In surrendering to rest, we honor energy's principle. Sleep allows energy to redistribute, patterns to solidify, and potential to prepare for creation. We become both observers and participants in the same network that sustains stars, galaxies, and life itself. Through quiet awareness, we perceive not only our own vitality, but the persistent, patient pulse of the universe, flowing through every atom, neuron, and breath. And in this perception, we find serenity, continuity, and a subtle understanding that consciousness, matter, and energy are threads of the same fabric, woven into the infinite tapestry of existence. Time is not simply a measure of seconds, minutes, or years. It is the silent river that carries existence forward, shaping stars, galaxies, and consciousness alike. From the first spark of a supernova to the fleeting thought in a human mind, all events are woven into this continuum. Time is both patient and relentless, stretching across eons in the cosmos, while simultaneously compressing to the intimate span of a heartbeat. To perceive time fully is to sense its duality, vast and infinite, yet intimately present in every breath, every pulse, every passing moment. It is the medium through which the universe unfolds and memory accumulates, a constant companion in the quiet of night. Consider the life of a star. It ignites, shines, and dies over millions or billions of years. Its light travels across vast distances, arriving only long after its source has changed or vanished. In this way, time in the cosmos is layered. Past, present, and effect coexist across immense scales. The universe preserves history in motion, in structure, in the subtle interactions of matter and energy. Each atom, each photon, each wave carries the imprint of temporal passage, a record of forces that acted long before consciousness emerged to perceive them. Time is the silent ledger of existence, the backdrop against which everything unfolds. In our own minds, time functions in a similarly layered manner. Consciousness perceives moments, yet memory preserves countless pasts, and imagination reaches toward countless possible futures. Sleep itself is an exploration of temporal layers. The brain sifts experiences, integrating lessons, emotions, and sensations. Dreams distort and recombine temporal sequences, blending past, present, and imagined moments. Within this fluidity, we touch a deeper understanding of time, not as a strict sequence, but as a tapestry, where events influence one another. Memory shapes perception, and anticipation prepares us for what is to come. Time is both structure and experience, external and internal, cosmic and intimate. The cyclical nature of time becomes apparent in cosmic patterns. Planets rotate, stars pulse, galaxies spin, and matter collapses and reforms. These rhythms are not arbitrary. They are shaped by laws that have persisted for billions of years. In cycles, we observe the recurring principles of cause and effect, energy and transformation. Just as the human body follows circadian rhythms, the universe follows its own grand cycles, from the oscillation of quasars to the orbit of binary stars. Time organizes complexity, allowing order to emerge from apparent chaos, and continuity to persist across epochs. Memory and time are inseparable. The universe remembers through structure, through the arrangement of matter, through energy that persists across space. Atoms in our bodies carry the imprint of processes that began in distant stars. Galaxies trace the trajectories of interactions that occurred millions of years ago. In the brain, neurons store patterns of firing that encode experiences and knowledge. Memory is time captured, an echo of what is past, preserved to influence what will come. Through sleep, reflection, and thought, we interact with this temporal web, aligning ourselves with the continuity of both personal and cosmic history. Time is also a teacher of patience. In the cosmos, formation and transformation occur over unimaginable durations. Planets coalesce, life emerges, and galaxies collide. Yet the processes are gradual, governed by laws that require persistence and stability. Human experience often emphasizes immediacy. Yet the universe reminds us that the most profound developments take time. Sleep is a microcosmic reflection of this principle. The body restores over hours, the mind integrates experience, and consciousness recalibrates. We learn that meaningful change, whether cosmic or personal, unfolds patiently, in accordance with rhythms larger than ourselves. Even absence is temporal. The voids between stars, the gaps between neurons, the pauses between events, all carry the imprint of what has passed and the potential for what will come. In emptiness, time is preserved, space is prepared, and influence waits patiently to manifest. The universe operates not only in the visible actions of matter, but in the silent intervals, where the potential for motion, interaction, and emergence is stored. In our own lives, moments of stillness function similarly. Reflection, rest, and contemplation create the conditions for insight, awareness, and growth. Time, in these pauses, is as vital as time in motion. In perceiving time, we sense connection. Every moment we experience is linked to the vast chronology of existence. Our consciousness is composed of atoms shaped by billions of years of cosmic processes. Our awareness unfolds in rhythms that echo the cycles of the universe. Past and present converge in the quiet of thought, and in sleep, we participate in the ongoing flow of temporal currents. The perception of time is not a limitation, but a bridge, linking the finite human experience to the infinite processes that sustain the cosmos. In quiet reflection, we recognize that time itself is a medium of consciousness. The unfolding of events, the persistence of memory, and the rhythm of cycles allow awareness to emerge. The universe and the mind are entwined through temporal continuity, each shaping, influencing, and reflecting the other. To sleep, to dream, to contemplate, is to enter this temporal flow, to align with the patient movement of creation, and to feel the subtle pulse of existence across scales both vast and intimate. In the embrace of time, we find perspective, serenity, and a profound sense of belonging within the unfolding universe. Patterns are the quiet language of existence. From the formation of galaxies to the firing of neurons, patterns emerge naturally from the interplay of forces, matter, and energy. They are the rhythm in chaos, the repetition that provides coherence, the subtle order that underlies apparent randomness. Stars cluster in spirals and filaments, electrons orbit nuclei in predictable paths, and neurons connect to form intricate networks. Each pattern is a reflection of fundamental principles, and each repetition is a story of persistence, interaction, and influence. In observing them, we perceive continuity, stability, and a deeper sense of the underlying logic of the universe. In life, patterns manifest as behavior, growth, and adaptation. Biological rhythms, heartbeats, respiration, circadian cycles mirror the principles found in the cosmos. Species evolve following ecological patterns, responding to environmental pressures with gradual refinement and innovation. In our minds, patterns govern thought, memory, and perception. Repetition strengthens connections, habits shape behavior, and reflection uncovers hidden structures within experience. We exist within a web of patterns, both inherited and emergent, and by attuning to them, we gain insight into the mechanisms that sustain life and awareness. The universe communicates through these patterns. Light, energy, and matter move along trajectories dictated by physical laws, forming structures that carry information across space and time. A spiral galaxy encodes the history of gravitational interactions. A pulsar's signal reveals precise rotations over millennia, and cosmic microwave background radiation preserves the echo of the universe's birth. Patterns are memory made visible, a way for the cosmos to preserve history and shape the future. To study them is to participate in an ongoing dialogue, to perceive the subtle interplay of cause and effect that binds the universe together. Patterns also guide consciousness. The mind thrives on recognition, on continuity, on the ability to find meaning in repetition. Dreams often recombine patterns in unexpected ways, forming narratives that integrate memory and emotion. Thought itself is a network of recurring signals, each firing influencing countless others. In these repetitions, awareness emerges, understanding, reflection, creativity. The act of noticing, of recognizing a pattern, is the mind's way of connecting with the greater rhythms of existence, aligning personal experience with the enduring logic of the cosmos. Even randomness produces patterns when observed across time and scale. Chaos is rarely truly chaotic. It contains structure that is subtle, probabilistic, and interconnected. Weather systems, planetary orbits, and particle motion all exhibit emergent regularities within apparent disorder. In the brain, seemingly random neuronal firing contributes to creativity, insight, and adaptability. Pattern recognition allows the mind to navigate complexity, to anticipate outcomes, and to integrate new information. In this sense, the universe teaches the mind how to learn from patterns, how to find order within unpredictability, and how awareness arises from structured complexity. Symmetry, repetition, and rhythm are manifestations of these patterns. A star's pulsing, a galaxy's rotation, the cycles of life, and the patterns of thought are all expressions of principles that echo across scales. Patterns bridge the temporal and spatial, linking microcosm to macrocosm. They are the threads connecting past to present, matter to energy, neurons to consciousness. Observing patterns in nature, we sense the coherence of existence and the quiet intelligence embedded in the very fabric of reality. Patterns are the voice of the cosmos, subtle yet persistent, inviting reflection and understanding. Human culture mirrors these cosmic principles. Music, art, language, and storytelling all rely on patterns. Repetition, variation, and rhythm create meaning and resonance. We instinctively recognize sequences, anticipate outcomes, and find satisfaction in order. These cultural expressions are microcosms of the universe's larger patterns, reflecting the same principles that govern galaxies and neurons. In creating, observing, and participating in these rhythms, we align ourselves with the patterns that sustain life, thought, and existence itself. Patterns also provide comfort and stability. In moments of uncertainty or chaos, recognizing repetition can calm the mind, create focus, and instill a sense of continuity. Sleep and dreams function as pattern integrators, weaving experiences into coherent narratives and reinforcing connections within the brain. Similarly, the universe organizes itself through recurring processes. Matter condenses into stars, stars explode and recycle matter, galaxies form and evolve. Patterns allow both mind and cosmos to persist, to evolve, and to carry memory forward across time and space. In quiet reflection, one begins to perceive the universality of patterns. A neuron firing in your brain echoes the rotation of a distant star. A cycle in nature mirrors the rhythm of a heartbeat. The folding of a protein mirrors the spiraling of a galaxy. These correspondences are subtle, yet profound, They reveal the interconnectedness of all things, the continuity of structure and principle that sustains life and consciousness. Recognizing patterns is an invitation to participate in the ongoing order of the universe, to align with the rhythm of existence, and to sense the intelligence inherent in both mind and cosmos. Through this understanding, sleep becomes more than rest. It becomes attunement. As the mind slows, the awareness of patterns deepens. Dreams weave experiences into integrated tapestries. The brain's rhythms synchronize with the body's cycles. Consciousness aligns with the universe's own structures, the subtle repetition and symmetry that shape galaxies, stars, and atoms. In surrendering to this rhythm, we discover calm, insight, and belonging. Patterns are not merely observed, they are lived, internalized, and shared across scales of existence, from neuron to star, from mind to cosmos, from present moment to eternity. Consciousness, when examined deeply, is both fragile and infinite. Each thought, emotion, and perception arises from networks of neurons. Yet these networks are composed of atoms and molecules shaped by forces billions of years old. Awareness is transient, a momentary arrangement of energy and matter, yet it carries the echoes of the universe's history. Every sensation, memory, and idea is a reflection of processes that have unfolded since the birth of stars, since matter first gathered into structure. In this way, consciousness is both fleeting and eternal, an intimate expression of the cosmos within a single living being. The fragility of thought highlights its preciousness. A moment of awareness can be disrupted by a blink, a breath, or the slow drift into sleep. Yet in its brevity lies profundity. Each conscious instant is a culmination of cosmic history, a microcosm of energy, matter, and time. Our capacity to observe, to reflect, to imagine is a rare phenomenon, made possible by countless interactions spanning eons. Sleep allows the mind to preserve this delicate structure, integrating experience, reinforcing neural connections, and safeguarding the continuity of thought. Even in rest, consciousness continues, quietly rehearsing the patterns that shape identity and perception. This duality of fragility and infinity is mirrored in the universe. Stars live and die, galaxies collide and disperse, and yet the processes that govern them persist, creating new structures, new forms, and new possibilities. Energy is neither created nor destroyed. It flows through matter, through space, and through time. In this ongoing flow, consciousness finds a parallel. It is an ephemeral arrangement, yet it participates in the timeless network of interaction, memory, and influence. Our minds, like the cosmos, are temporary expressions of enduring principles, fleeting yet connected to something far greater than themselves. Time enhances the subtlety of consciousness. Moments of reflection, memory, and dream unfold within the mind, building layers of awareness. These layers are informed not only by immediate experience, but by the cumulative history of matter and energy. Each neuron firing carries a legacy that stretches back through chemistry, physics, and stellar evolution. To be conscious is to be a point of convergence for countless events and influences, both seen and unseen. Sleep amplifies this connection, allowing the mind to reorganize, integrate, and harmonize with the rhythms of existence, maintaining coherence while preparing for renewed engagement with the world. Fragility also brings humility. Consciousness is intimately bound to physical processes, dependent on chemistry, energy, and structure. A slight change in neural activity can alter perception, memory, and emotion. Yet this vulnerability is inseparable from its beauty. The mind's sensitivity allows subtlety, empathy, imagination, and insight. The same principle applies to the universe. Small variations in initial conditions can lead to extraordinary complexity. Galaxies spin differently, planetary systems form in unique patterns, and stars burn with varying intensities. Fragility, rather than diminishing significance, highlights the elegance of existence and the delicate balance required to sustain life, thought, and awareness. Infinity emerges from continuity. Although individual thoughts are brief, consciousness persists in a flowing stream of awareness. Moments blend into one another, creating coherence from impermanence. Similarly, the universe operates in cycles and networks, preserving influence, memory, and structure across time. Stars explode, seeding matter for new systems. Galaxies rotate, shaping gravitational fields that guide formation. Energy circulates endlessly, sustaining processes at every scale. Consciousness and cosmos are intertwined in this principle. Impermanence does not negate continuity, and fragility does not preclude significance. Our emotions reflect this connection between fragility and infinity. Awe, wonder, and reflection arise from perceiving the vastness of the cosmos and the fleeting nature of self. These feelings remind us of our place within a larger framework, of the continuity that sustains life and mind across time and space. They encourage humility, gratitude, and awareness of the subtle interplay between the individual and the universal. In sleep, these emotions are gently processed, integrated, and harmonized with memory and thought, allowing the mind to rest while remaining attuned to the larger rhythms of existence. The mind's creativity also thrives on this duality. Fragile neurons fire in complex patterns, producing imagination, insight, and intuition. Ideas emerge and vanish like stars in a shifting galaxy, forming and dissolving in moments of clarity and dream. Sleep nurtures these processes, consolidating knowledge and integrating experience. Consciousness is thus a dynamic interplay of impermanence and continuity, fragility and resilience, fleeting moment and infinite lineage. Each thought carries the potential for reflection, connection, and awareness, rooted in the enduring principles that shape both mind and cosmos. In quiet meditation, we recognize the elegance of this balance. Consciousness is not static. It flows, shifts, and evolves in harmony with the cycles of sleep, energy, and time. Awareness is fragile enough to be influenced by subtle shifts in internal or external conditions, yet it is infinite in its capacity to connect, reflect, and integrate. This balance mirrors the universe itself. Impermanent stars and galaxies exist within enduring laws. Fleeting events influence the eternal dance of matter, energy, and space. The fragile and infinite are inseparable, coexisting in a harmonious interplay that sustains existence at all scales. By embracing both fragility and infinity, we find serenity and understanding. Sleep becomes more than rest. It is attunement to the delicate balance that sustains life, thought, and cosmos. We sense continuity in impermanence, resilience in vulnerability, and presence in fleeting moments. Consciousness, fragile yet infinite, mirrors the universe itself, ephemeral arrangements of matter and energy, participating in a timeless network of interaction, memory, and rhythm. In surrendering to this realization, we experience calm, perspective, and the quiet wonder of being a temporary, yet meaningful, expression of the infinite. In this awareness of connection, we also perceive completion. Each moment of consciousness, every spark of thought, and every breath is both transient and eternal, like a single note within a symphony that stretches across space and time. We are simultaneously fleeting and enduring, individual and universal, fragile yet resilient. The same forces that shaped distant galaxies guided the formation of stars and allowed consciousness to emerge in our minds continue to flow through us now, quietly sustaining awareness, shaping perception, and carrying forward the story of existence. Sleep, in this final moment, becomes not merely rest but communion. As the body relaxes and the mind drifts into deeper states, we align with the rhythms that have governed the universe since its beginning. Energy flows gently, patterns integrate, connections strengthen, and time itself feels expansive yet intimate. We are cradled by the universe, participants in a continuum that spans from the birth of stars to the flicker of our thoughts, from the silence between galaxies to the quiet spaces within our minds. Every heartbeat, every pulse of awareness is a subtle echo of cosmic processes, reminding us that consciousness is part of something immeasurably larger than ourselves. And in this surrender, there is serenity. The mind lets go of tension, the body releases strain, and the awareness of self expands into a quiet recognition of being. We are nodes in a vast network, woven into the fabric of existence, simultaneously observing and participating in the ongoing flow of energy, matter, and memory. Stars, atoms, neurons, and thoughts are all expressions of the same underlying principle: interaction, reflection, and continuity. Each is temporary, each is significant, and each carries the story of the universe forward in subtle, intimate ways. The mind drifts further into this understanding. Every fleeting thought is acknowledged, every memory integrated, and every perception settles into coherence. The universe, vast and eternal, and consciousness, intimate and transient, are no longer separate. They are reflections of one another. The cosmos thinking through stars and galaxies, consciousness reflecting this thought through neurons and awareness. Sleep is the bridge between these scales, a moment where the personal merges with the universal, where fragility meets infinity, and where impermanence resonates with continuity. As the journey concludes, there is only quiet wonder. The pulse of existence continues unbroken, and we rest within its flow. Connection, energy, time, and pattern converge, carrying the mind into a state of peaceful attunement with the cosmos. Here, in this calm and meditative space, awareness dissolves into rhythm, reflection merges with memory, and consciousness rests in the infinite embrace of the universe. In the final gentle moments before sleep, we are simultaneously ourselves and the cosmos, a fleeting yet enduring thought in the mind of the universe. And the journey ends not with an ending, but with an infinite continuation, a quiet resonance that stretches across time, space, and the eternal expanse of being. The stars, like neurons, pulse silently in the night. The universe continues to think, to reflect, to exist, and in its vastness, we are cradled, connected, and at peace.